But Tanveer, I would suspect that we need our own toolkit to gather that kind of confidence to get out and about and do things. You want to be sure people are, as you say, washing their hands. I remember saying that back in February. As long as we're washing our hands, we should be all right. And those sort of basic kind of distancing yourself things are not unreasonable things. It's amazing. All these years after, my mum used to implore that on me as a child, that now the whole business of washing your hands on a constant basis is important. But what else should we have in our toolkit to give us some confidence as we move back into the workforce?
Look, I think there have been some positives from, it has forced people to reevaluate a whole range of things. My impression is that people are a bit more aware of that they're part of a community. One thing I've written about, Gary, is one thing I feel like we've lost in recent decades is a sense of the innate dignity of a whole range of ordinary work. I think we've started to lose that in Western societies. One story I talk about is when Narendra Modi, the Indian Prime Minister, came. I actually went to this talk. He came years ago. It was just soon after he got elected. And he gave this talk in Sydney, which it was like 10,000, 20,000 sort of local Indian community and others. And he gave this exceptional speech talking about one of the great things of Western societies was the innate dignity we gave to every kind of work. And this is a leader who was a tea seller, rose to become the Prime Minister. And he said that was one of the great gifts of Western societies. And I think this little episode has helped kind of bring that back in a really strong way, where I think we do see that. I think, it doesn't matter what kind of work you do, it's really given a great dignity and a sense of pride about every kind of work. So I think that's a big positive that's come out of it. I think we are more aware of community and the different contributions people are making. And just to feel a more stronger sense that it's just not about, getting ahead, etc. So I hope some of that remains. But you can manage risk within your own life. So as you say, washing hands, reasonable social distancing. I think some of that may be tougher in certain areas. We've got certain policies in public transport, and I think businesses are doing a good job where they're already thinking about how to kind of mix up the workplace. And obviously technology's been exceptional throughout this period where it's allowed a lot of people to work from home, but not everyone can do that. A lot of people have to work. They can't do their job from home. So, they have to be provided for and they have to be kept away from risk. So I think one of the points there, Gary, is we can manage risk. And what we have to be wary about in what I refer to as the safety industrial complex is that we overreach, that we demand almost zero risk in terms of health. And that's just not, that causes a great deal of damage to a whole set of other industries and a whole set of other people. I think people are mature enough that with the right information, they can go about their lives and manage risk. And part of managing risk is accept that, potentially bad things can happen, but we can absolutely minimise that risk and go about our life. And if we try and reduce risk to zero, we basically risk taking away everything that life is worth living for, when we overreach on that. So we have to find that balance. And I think we do have to re-accept. Most of the world they go about their day in poorer countries with a degree of risk. The reality is we're very privileged and we don't necessarily have to. But in some ways with coronavirus, we can still go out in the world, minimise risks to a very low level with the help of government and business and other, with the powers that be, if you like. But it's impossible to live a life of zero risk. And that's not something we should be aspiring for.